Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to 101. And it's great news to see that my son actually is old enough to be my son. Neomis is back in the UK, but he's only back here for a week. So
Yes.
welcome, Neomis, man. It's really, really, really good to see you. Everyone's been asking for you, and
Thank you.
I know things have been going so well out there. How long has it been? Is it a year?
No, yeah, it's over a year now. It's coming up to like a year and a half.
Jeez, a
Yeah.
year and a half. So,
Yeah.
so basically, it was a 3 year plan. Yeah.
Well, I started it online back in like 2020, like late 2020, like during the kind of start of COVID. And then I had plans on like thinking about going, but I wasn't sure how things were going to go. And then it was like, okay, if I'm going to go, it's either now or never. Either I'm going to stay here and do it online, or I'm going to go for the experience. So I thought, you know what? Let me just go and just like make it happen,
Yeah.
because like it's a once in a lifetime type of thing.
So the plan is it still three? Is it still a 3 year plan? So that means 18 months or 2 years left.
No, no, no. I've already done like literally half of it. So now I've
Wow.
got another 3 months to go, and then I'll be done. Then I will be back
Wow.
in. I'll be back in the work world like everybody else, working full time. But yeah, it's just I think right now job market's a bit tough. But I just gotta do what I gotta do.
So this is on a personal level. Obviously, last time I talked to you,
Yes.
you said you had met somebody. So how's that going?
Oh, it's doing well. It's doing very
Good,
well.
good. I can't wait
Very,
to
very,
meet. I can't wait
very,
to meet. Yeah.
very well.
I can't wait to get on top of that and obviously find out what's how you've been spending your spare time and
Yeah.
how happy you've been over there. And yeah, I really can't wait. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about the game yesterday? Obviously, Arsenal came through. I don't know whether you've seen my vlog video. Um, so the
Yes.
game was the game. I mean, it's kind of one of them games where you think, look, they've only beaten us twice in the last 23 games, but it's different now. Everything is different. So just really hoping that we can get over the line. But honestly, Arsenal just really turning it on.
I mean, this is the thing with Arsenal. Like, I mean, this season they continue to surprise me, and I think I've gotten kind of over it where I'm like, okay, I could 100% trust them. But even sometimes I'd be like, oh, is it going to be this game where it doesn't quite? But they always just seem to do it. And the one thing that they've just managed to fix this season is just that consistency. Even with like the injuries that they've gotten, they've just managed to pull it off. And if the first half isn't quite doing it, Arteta, whatever it is he's doing at halftime, whether it's just a team talk or substitutions, like it's working. And Arsenal are coming out in the second half and in a lot of these games and just hit like just knockout punches to these teams. So if we continue along that line, we will be just fine. We will.
So I tell you, man, it's just we've been missing you so much here. Gary says to say
Yeah.
hi. What's going on, Gary? He was at the Emirates with me yesterday. 18 saying, "What's going on, Neomis?" Everyone's just going Neomis mad right now. And Cam saying, "What's going on, Neomis?"
No, so
18 saying,
18.
18 saying, "I want to hear his views." Don't worry, we're gonna come. We're gonna come
Oh
to
yeah.
that. We're gonna come to that. So overall, I want to get the game out the way first, and then we can focus on what your predictions would be for the top 10. This was my player ratings for yesterday, so I just want to go through what happened yesterday. Arsenal extended their lead back to 8 points at the top of the Premier League, and I just want to talk about their loss since they lost to City. Since they lost to Manchester City, Arsenal have beaten Villa 4-2 away, beaten Leicester 1-0 away, beaten Everton 4-0 at home, Bournemouth 3-2 at home, which was my favourite game of the season. They beat Fulham away 3-0. They beat Palace 4-1 at home and Leeds 4-1 at home. I mean, they're not just winning by 1-0 and scraping over the line. They're absolutely blowing teams off the park.
Yeah, and it, where was this in previous seasons? Like, okay, I know we've got new players, but like we never saw anything like this where we were like, oh, just those one or two little players, and like we'll absolutely blitz teams. It's been like it must be a mental thing. It's got to be. It's
And
got to be a
the thing
mentality
about
thing.
it is, even if you look at yesterday, the first half was well balanced. Leeds
Yeah.
actually played better than we did.
Yes.
Ramsdale made 3 quality saves, but the fact is they were in as much as the game as we were. Then in the second half, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. But and that's happened so many times this season. It's brilliant.
I mean, it's not even close. They are playing at a level sometimes that's beyond City because look, City did well yesterday. I think City's been too dependent on Haaland, and I think it's kind of perplexing the way that they have played hasn't been. I mean, you can look at the form guide, but I'm going to go back to my video in November when I said Arsenal can win the league. The reason why I said that, and the video states it, and I've talked about it over again, is because Manchester City, even when they win the league, always lose about 3 or 4 games, and they always draw about 2, 3, or 4 games. So I looked at basically what had happened in the past, and I thought, well, they're going to lose 3 or 4 games this season. At that time, they had only lost 1 game, by the way, when I made that video. Since then, they have lost 4 games, and they've drawn 4 games. Arsenal's lost 3 games and drawn 3 games, I believe it is. Yes. So when you look at what I said back in November, it is all played out in terms of Man City. It's got nothing to do with Arsenal. I'm just saying in terms of Man City, because we were top of the league when the season started, and everybody said it's a blip. It's not. We won't stay there. Christmas came, we were still there. People was like, yeah, the World Cup. Let's see what happens. Jesus is injured. They're going to fall by the wayside. Didn't happen. New Year came, we were still on top. Now we're at Easter, and everyone's like, hold on a second. They're still on top. So we've been at the head of this race from the start. And the consistency, that's what's got me, Neomis. Yes. It's the consistent performances. It's never say die attitude. Some weekends we start before Man City, which is great because the pressure then goes on them. But when Man City play before us, the pressure then comes back to us, and we show no signs. We don't care.
I don't know. I don't know where it's come from. The only thing I can say is, you know what? I've watched guys like Zinchenko do his interviews, like when he's on the pitch, and his attitude his winning mentality is incredible, and you can tell that like Xhaka has gone from. Like I think even before this season, Xhaka was a leader, but he's taken it to a whole nother level where like now he believes 1000%, and that's just filtered with everyone. Like everyone has gone up a level. Even guys who I thought was going to be in oblivion, guys like Reece Nelson, who I like, but thought, you know what, he's not going to get a chance. Like that's it for Reece, but. Reece is showing that he can be part of it as well. And for what Arsenal have done this season, my only regret is that I have to be stuck on the other side of the world when all of this is going on. And it's not fair because I'm not around other true Arsenal fans where I can really just enjoy it with everyone. But I generally think Arsenal's going to win the league.
Yeah, I was saying that before, and I am even strong now. The charge is there. It's now 9 games to go, and City's got to play 10 games. Facebook, I don't know who this. I'm not tuned into Facebook at the moment, so let me just try. It's Johansson. It's Johansson. Yeah, shout out to you. He says 70 goals scored, 9 games to play. That's crazy numbers. It is absolutely crazy numbers. 70. If they carry on at this pace, they're going to finish around 96 to 99 points.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. Janssen, that's bonkers.
This
Bless up, Tony. Big shout out to you, Tony. Thanks for holding the fort to yesterday. It was absolutely brilliant. Gary saying they have definitely kicked up a notch level-wise. Yeah, they have. Janssen again says the Invincibles, 73 goals in 38 games. Look, the way that this team's playing, I mean, I know the Invincibles draw 12 games, didn't they?
Yeah.
I just don't know how to. I think these guys are going to get more points than the Invincibles did.
Yeah.
Cam saying, "Big up, Tony." Yes, okay, yeah, I can see you now because you filled out the waiver at the top of out to you, man. Says, "Hey, Apollo." Is your buyer Jacker? Yeah, it is. And look, I'm happy to swallow. I'm happy to say I said that this team would never ever make top four with Jacker, and I did. And look, I still say playing him at the 6 is still a bad idea, but at the 8, he's a different player. He scored 5 goals, 5 assists.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, he's got more goals because he scored in Europe as well. So the most ever goals he scored beyond that and assists was 2. He's doubled his, nearly tripled his amount of goals, doubled his amount of assists, and I think his average rating on who scored is 7.02, which is the highest he's ever been. So look, credit to the player and credit to the manager for kind of moving him in a situation where he could best help himself and best help the team. So yeah, look, I'm happy to put my hand up and heat humble pie because he's getting it done right now. But yesterday, let me know what your thoughts were, Neomis, on the play ratings. You can see up the top there. Start with Aaron Ramsdale. He was forced into action after just 9 seconds with that save. I think it was Christoffen. Then he was far busier than he would have liked to have been. But he was denied the clean sheet for a deflected goal. You can't blame him on the deflected goal. But the important saves he made from Harris and Somerville earlier on really, really was key. And he's making those saves every week. What would you give him in terms of your grade?
For Ramsdale, I actually give him a little bit. I would have gave him a solid 8. I didn't watch it live with you guys, but I watched it on recording. I felt he did a really good job throughout that game. I mean, literally now, Ramsdale, if he isn't already, because I don't watch international football, he should be England's number 1, hands down. Like, it's like if Jordan Pickford is still England's number 1, like Southgate is lost it. But Ramsdale performance for Arsenal, again, consistent. And I think his performance just shows like how Arsenal have been this season. Consistently performs, rarely ever makes mistakes, and even when he does, he doesn't make them twice. I thought that was the case with yesterday's game.
Yeah, I mean the comments are starting to flood in now. I mean it just the level, like I said before, the levels were down there. Now the levels was up here, and I remember Arteta saying he was talking about Aubameyang, he was talking about a few other players that had cost us. It wasn't just Arteta, it was also Edu, and saying there's players that we've had, they've cost us a lot financially, and they've not been providing what to the level that we've been paying them.
Yeah.
And when you look at the level that they've got now, the expectations, like everyone's stepping up. Yeah. I can't think of one player on the team that is not stepping up.
No,
not one.
Look, Rob Holding. Like,
you know, I'm a Holding fan, though.
Yeah, like same here. 2 million, 2 million. One of the last Wengerites of this side. He's been in obscurity throughout almost all of this season, and still comes in and delivers a performance like that, knowing that he's basically a bit part player, but he knows his job. He comes in and he puts in a good performance. And at the end of the season, like, I really hope he gets exactly what he deserves.
Yeah, me too. And Wenger said his only issue with him is that he didn't pay 50 million for him. Like, that's the only thing that's wrong with the player. He's had one bad game against Song in Spurs. All the other 9 games out of the last 10 games he's had have been very, 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 very good games. And I go back to Anfield last year. I remember when we were playing them in a cup and it was 0-0. Rob Holding was man of the match in that game.
Yeah.
But I just want to see what they do next week, because they don't have Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu took Salah out of the game. So I'm not sure how they're gonna match up there.
Yes.
Ben White, he didn't have Saka ahead of him, and I thought the first half was a bit awkward. But as the game went on, he pushed up, he supported him, he got that goal from close range. Look, I just want to put my cards on the table now. I agree with a lot of people that Reece James is the best right back. I agree. I ain't got no problem with that. But this season, Reece James has been injured, and and Ben White. I think Ben White is the best right back in the Premier League right now, and that's just because of how he's played and the fact that Reece James hasn't featured much and been injured. What was your thoughts on him yesterday? 7.5 a good grade, or you're going to go up or down on that one?
I would probably leave it the same. I think for me, Ramsdale's 8. I think is deserve. I leave Rob Holding the same. Rob Holding, Ben White the same with the 7.5.
Yeah, Cam just says Reece Nelson looked agitated. I think it was a big mistake playing Saka yesterday. I just would have put Reece on there. So it's very good to see us scoring easy. Again, 4 goals, very confident going forward. But let's still take it game by game. The next final is Liverpool. G saying, we are scary good. Barely felt like we got out of second gear and we destroyed them. Rested players also. Gary saying, Holding very rarely has let us down. And he's a double important around the squad as well. Yeah, he's a big asset at London Coney. The most respected player he is in the training ground. And I've heard plenty of good, words about him. We move on to Gabriel. Now, actually, Rob Holding. I gave Rob Holding a 7. We already talked about Holding.
Yeah.
And you're fine with a 7, yeah?
Yeah, I'm fine with a 7 for Rob.
Gabriel, I gave him a 7.5. I thought he marshaled his area really well, kept Leeds quiet for most of the game. He was uber physical. Like he weren't taking no crap. So I see him blocking guys down. I was like, bro, you look like you want to fight somebody out there. I just thought the pressure was on him because he didn't have Saliba next to him, so he didn't have that comfort zone. Yeah. You know how it works. Guys feel comfortable when they have the right man next to them. Not saying Holding's the wrong man, but he hasn't played a lot with Holding. And I just thought he was a little agitated. Janssen said Gabriel is easily the best defender in the league. They're saying that. Do you know what's funny? In the Premier League first 11 team before Christmas, he was the guy that was on there, not Saliba. All the pundits, Sky, BBC, BT Sports, all of them put him in their first 11.
Wow. Listen, I thought Gabriel had a good game yesterday, but in terms, I'll just touch on the point about who's been Arsenal's best defender. For me, it's Saliba. And I've been a big fan of Gabriel from the time we've gotten him. Well, even when we had, was it David Luiz there?
Yeah.
Gabriel's first season, one of our best defenders. Last season was one of our best players. And even this season, he's been good. But for me, him and Saliba in that defense, I changed things. But in the last game, I thought Gabriel, good, solid performance. I agree with you in that he seemed a bit agitated. And I put that down, like you as well, to Rob Holding, because it's classic kind of Gabriel. He feels that he needs to cover everything to prevent any type of mistakes, just in case Rob Holding gets put in a position where he's going to have to deal with things. So for me, Gabriel did what Gabriel just does. He's a sentinel, just dealt with everything that comes his way. So 7.5 is fair.
And Cam said, I think I heard the commentator say this is the most wins ever by an Arsenal team at this point of the season.
Yeah.
If so, so that means that they are ahead of Invincibles then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't looked that up, Cam, so I can't actually say anything. Maybe somebody might be able to go onto Opta or go onto Twitter and confirm that. He also says annoyed Nelson didn't come on, should have probably been ahead of Smith Rowe and definitely ahead of Fabio in the pecking order. And Janssen says he took that World Cup snub and made himself a rock. Yeah, because Brazil didn't pick him, he developed to insert and calmness to his game. Yeah, because it was the rashness, all that stuff that we knew about him. That was the stuff he was trying to get out of the game. Look, he just looks the part right now. And I remember Juventus was talking about buying him for 65 million last summer.
Yeah.
I just heard a guy yesterday say he's worth 80, 90 million at the moment. And I wouldn't even sell him for that much. Shout out to George from Chicago. Which is just below where you are, Neomis, in Canada. He's saying, one time win next year is another year. Yeah, and look, this is the youngest team in the league, George. So they're just getting started. If people think that what Arsenal are doing now is special, they're not even, in my opinion, George, they're not even the finished article yet.
No, easily. Like most of these players need like 4 years to be in their prime.
Yeah, it's like
And
they're
that's the
not in their
start
prime.
of their prime.
Yeah, they're not in their
Even
prime.
at the end.
Most of them are still 20. You know, if you look at Martinelli, Saka, they're 21. Saka, I believe, just turned 22, his 22nd birthday. If they get Ossiham from Napoli, if they get that guy from Napoli, then I really don't know what to say to the Premier League, because I put a poll out on the channel, and the poll says, who misses out next week? Because now everybody's fit. Who misses out next week? Because remember, Saka didn't start. So out of Martinelli, Jesus, Trossard, and Saka, someone got to be on the bench next week. And I don't know what you do, because all of them are in form.
Oh, I mean,
you know what, Neomis? While you're answering that, I'm actually going to go to the channel and see what them lot are saying about the poll, because I did put it in a poll, but I just want to see what everybody said about it. Yeah, I mean, who would you take out, Neomis? I'm glad I'm not the manager.
It's gonna have to be Martinelli. It's gonna have to be Martinelli. For me, Trossard's been really good, and Saka, like you cannot drop Saka. Like Saka's been every single season. Saka takes it to another level. Like I remember 2 seasons ago saying, you know what, Saka could potentially be world class, like in maybe 2 to 3 seasons, but never did I actually think that he would hit it. But I mean, Saka.
Yeah, so here we are, guys. The poll is up there. It says Arteta has a problem next week against Liverpool. Which forward gets dropped? 28% of you said Jesus gets dropped.
No.
22% of you said Martinelli gets dropped.
No.
Nobody said Saka should be dropped. That is blank. But 50% said Trossard. That's nuts.
No,
he's got 8 assists in 8 games.
This is the experience. His experience is shining through at Arsenal right now. That's the thing, and he's got the quality behind him, and it's making him look even better. Yeah, Trossard, you can't drop Trossard. No,
you can't drop him. The only person who's got more assists than him is Kevin De Bruyne.
Can't drop
That's
him.
Nuts. And underneath it says, who was Arsenal's man of the match? You guys voted Gabriel Jesus. I actually went for Trossard.
Yeah. That's what I
went for Trossard. But a lot of you went for Gabriel Jesus, so let me take that away there. More comments coming in. Somebody, I'm not sure who that is. I have to check the forum. It's Bobby. So, Bobby, listen, Bobby, we got a lot to say, man, about the substitutions. I don't think Saka should have played. I think that Nelson should have played. That's the only reason why I kind of marked down Arteta, because I thought he put them guys on at the 85th minute, and I'm just like, bro,
why?
You got men that you should have at least a minimum give them 15 minutes. There's no excuses, man. No excuses. It said Martinelli gets dropped. Trossard more clinical with fight. Trossard, listen, guys, I'm gonna say this. It might hurt a little people. It might rub you the wrong way, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Trossard reminds me of Santi Cazorla. The way how he picks up the ball. Yeah, listen, the way how he picks up the ball and slides through the final third, these two-footed, the way that he places the ball, you can see, look, he's got 8 assists in his last 8 games. He's just fantastic in the penalty area. And when I looked at him, I can see Santi Cazorla. I'm just like, I cannot believe how much they look alike on the field. The way they glide around, the height is probably around the same 5'7". I think so. Cazorla was 5'6", so he may have been even smaller. But he just reminds me of Cazorla, and nobody since Cazorla's left has reminded me of him. He just looks so fluid, man, and so intelligent. Oh, I love it, man. Look, a lot of people might not agree, but I can definitely see that. The answer says Saka is undroppable, as he's unplayable. Yeah, agreed. Let me get this back up for you. So let's move over. Zinchenko I gave a 6.5. I didn't think he had a great game, and I think that they went to the same biscuit from the biscuit tin. You know, they went back to that well over and over again. And in the first half, what they lacked was they didn't go on the right side where Odegaard was, and I think Odegaard suffered because they were just going way too much with Zinchenko, and it disrupted the balance in the first half. But in the second half, when things started clicking, lo and behold, Odegaard got more into the game, and he had that beautiful assist for the Xhaka header. What was your thoughts on Zinchenko? I thought he's 6.5 for me yesterday.
I would have given him a little bit high. I'd have given him a 7. I felt that for me, the reason why I gave him a 7, I felt he was able to manage everything that the opponent was doing, like very well. And even though he was getting constantly bombarded, and like I know you mentioned Odegaard wasn't quite getting in the game because he's Zinchenko's always trying to come in from that left side. I still felt that, like, in terms of the performance, particularly like compared to Rob Holding, I thought it was done on the same level. So I'd have given him, bumped him up to a little bit more, to a 7. But I thought overall, like, reasonably good.
So we've got Cam saying the knee-jerk reaction in the first 30 minutes was hilarious. Saw someone even calling Trossard to be subbed off at half-time.
I could believe, yeah. Arsenal fans. It doesn't matter that we're top of the table. Like, relax.
And look, you know, I did mention the fact that he wasn't as effective in the first half. I can't lie because I do the vlogs on the channel. Everybody can see what I say before the game. They can see what I say at half-time, and they can say what I say at full-time. And you heard me talk about the frustration it was and how they had to change him and get Odegaard more into the game. That's exactly what the manager did. The manager saw exactly what I saw, and he changed it. And in the second half, it was lights out. But and he was a different player. Like, for me, Trossard was the best player on that pitch, and that's why I gave him man of the match. But Odegaard came alive as well, so that was important. Thomas Partey, look, man, his range, he snuffed out all the danger before it happened, and he was given a well-deserved rest. He came off after 59 minutes. I gave him a 7.5. He was so good yesterday. He was so good, Neomis, that me and Gary was laughing because at times when he had the ball, the Leeds midfielders didn't even try to tackle him. They just sat off him. You can see 2 or 3 of them around him, and they was just like, we're not even going to get ourselves embarrassed by this guy because he transitions so well with the ball. We can't get the ball off him. We can't stop him from doing it. So all we can do is try and plug the gaps, you know, try and gap play him. It's getting to the point now where people are just, he's got the Michael Essien factor. And those guys couldn't play in transition. They couldn't, you know, they could hold up the play. They could tackle. They were monsters tackling. They were defensive midfielders at the prime of their game. But this guy's adding that transition. His distribution is way better than them. Way better than Essien and Makelele. They didn't have that kind of distribution. But as defenders, they were brilliant. And Partey has more in his game than those guys. There isn't anybody in world football now, in my opinion, that's playing better than him as a defensive midfielder. He is the de facto. He is the pinnacle of defensive midfielders displayed in world football right now. There is nobody on no team playing better than Thomas Partey. Fact. What did you give him, Neomis?
I gave him an 8 because we have missed him, and what he gives to this side, just, he helps us take over. He makes Xhaka a better player. Who, I would also increase Xhaka's marks as well, because he helps the balance of the midfield. He ensures the defense. He is literally the glue. I would say, apart from in some games, Odegaard, he's key to this team, key to the way how they move, the way how they function, and like, I'm so glad that we have him, and we have him back, like, at 100%, especially for these last 9 games.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then we move on to Xhaka. We already talked about Xhaka, but I gave him a 7. I thought he opened up space for his teammates well. I don't think he does enough to influence the game. He hasn't been doing that for a while now, but the goals have started to come back in, and that's great because the players get behind him. He's getting into those. Yesterday, he's getting into those positions in the final third. He fully deserved his late header goal, but he's just making, even though his deployment on his runs doesn't mean anything, what it does is it still stretches out defenders and opens up gaps for others, and that's his primary that's his primary job to do in the team, and he's doing it quite well. What was your thoughts on Xhaka yesterday?
Again, I thought with him and Thomas Partey in the midfield, I thought he did pretty good. I would have bumped him up slightly to a 7.5. And again, I like to see him score goals. So for me, I felt again another good solid game from Xhaka. Like, I haven't always been a big fan of his, but he's producing. So like, you're not going to hear any complaints from me.
Yeah, I heard it. I agree with that. We go to Odegaard. So Odegaard, I gave him a 7, as I said. And before I talk about the display, which is quite not much to talk about, as I said, they went away from him in the first half. Everything was down the left, and that's why you saw Xhaka and Martinelli, get a lot of ball, because that's where everything was developing. And I felt that they neglected him. So did Arteta, and that's why we started to have more of a balanced attack in the second half, and they just couldn't stop us. We just destroyed them. And his ball to Xhaka, hitting him in stride on the run was superb. But I remember when Jesus earned the penalty, and Odegaard picked up the ball and said, "I'm taking this penalty." And it was a little conversation before Odegaard said, "All right, I'm the captain. I get the last say. Jesus gets it." So I thought that was a nice little thing there, because Odegaard has got double-digit goals. He's got 10 goals. And poor Jesus had only had half of that amount with 5 goals. Hadn't scored in, I said it's 12 league games. A lot of people said it was 14. I think that was 14 in all competitions, because he did start 2 games in the in Europe. But it was a great gesture for the captain to say, "Look, take your ting, boy. Get on the score sheet, get your confidence back." So shout out to Odegaard for that. What's your thoughts on his display yesterday?
I thought it was a good solid performance. I agree with you with the 7. I think that's I think factoring in the whole game, I think 7 is fair. And again, similar to Thomas Partey, I think he's become the glue and to this team, and his numbers this season. He's producing, and that's what we wanted. And I just love the fact that all the players that I was like, this player needs to improve, he needs to improve, they all improved like by 2 levels, to where like, I mean, Odegaard's performing as though like he's a seasoned vet, when he's like, Odegaard's only 23.
He's my favorite Arsenal player.
Like, I mean,
he's my favorite Arsenal player. He's everybody on this channel knows Martin Odegaard is my favorite Arsenal player. They don't even have to ask me. They know he's my favorite Arsenal player. He's going to be, by the time he finishes his career with Arsenal, he's going to be an absolute legend. And and before this season, I went back and said to everybody, he's got double-digit goals and double-digit assists in him. Just wait to see him thriving. He's absolutely thriving. And now, not by myself, but now people are starting to compare him to Kevin De Bruyne. People are starting to say, I even heard one on ESPN yesterday, I was watching it, and they were saying, is he in the argument for league's most valuable player at the end of the season? People talking about De Bruyne, Haaland, Saka, and obviously there has to be 5 or 6 players. But Odegaard, I would definitely think, I would think he'd be in there. Yeah, for sure. I would definitely think he'd be in the discussion. No doubt about that. He's captained this team. We've had some awful captains. I've said years and years and years that the last best captain that we had was Mikel Arteta. I said that on the channel for years. Arteta was the last best captain that we've had. And Odegaard, he was always my first choice for captain. He was. And I'm so glad I didn't give it to Tierney, because I didn't think that was Arsenal. I didn't think that was a way for us to go into the future, because especially when you realize that Tierney may have been replaced. So I'm so glad for that. Let's move to Trossard now. I've already talked about the reasons why I've given him 8.5. He came to life, man. and he's just served up chance after chance after chance. The assist and interlink play with Jesus for the goal, Jesus' second goal, that was just a pinnacle Arsenal. That was like Wenger ball, that was. And he's the positions he picks up. It was a Santi Cazorla display yesterday. What's your thoughts on Trossard?
I mean, we talked about him a bit at the beginning, but for me, like he's been one of my favorite players so far this season. Just he's exactly what we needed, an experienced guy that could come in, score goals, and he just fits so well with the team. So well. I don't think I've ever watched him be like, oh, he's had like a bad game. When like
He's never had a bad game.
yeah, like this is why when the poll talked about who should you drop, like why would you drop Trossard? He's never had a bad game. Saka is on fire. We know what so it's just between Jesus and Martinelli, and I'm gonna go for the more experienced one. So I'm gonna go for Jesus.
Yeah, and what a joy that is. I think we have to change our mentality. I have mentioned this before on the channel. I think we have to change our mentality as Arsenal fans. And what we need to do is start to think like how Man City think. We have to start to think like champions. We have to understand that you can have a team where Mahrez, Sterling, Grealish, and all that man there, and even sometimes De Bruyne doesn't start and he comes off the bench. You have to have that mentality as an Arsenal fan that at some point the players that we love and we want to see every week will be on the bench and they'll come off and provide the impact. Because if you go back to the 0-0 draw at Newcastle, where we had nothing on the bench, there was no changes. Everybody played a full 95 minutes and we had no plan B. Now it's full of plan B, plan C. The bench is just fully loaded. So if one player has to miss out, it's not a bad thing. He'll come on, he'll provide an impact, and he'll make us better in the final moments of the game. And that's how we have to think, guys. We can't think that benching a player is a negative thing. We just can't do that. That's the mindset of a mid-table team. We, at this point in time, have to think like champions. So if Martinelli or Jesus has to be benched, they'll be coming on 60th, 70th minute, and they'll take us over the line. And that's how we have to think about it. It's a shame Nketiah is injured because we could have done with him yesterday. When Jesus came off, we really didn't play with any point man, and we kind of missed a little bit of that. Xhaka got the goal from Odegaard, which was great, but outside of that, we kind of didn't really offer up anything on the front line, and there was a few balls that came into the middle and no one got on the end of it. So we are missing a few players on injuries, but I'm sure that will improve. What's your thoughts on Martinelli? I thought Martinelli was good yesterday. I thought he almost caught Leeds out with that clever little shot from just inside the halfway line, which required the goal line clearance from Ayling. I thought the ball was going to go through his legs into the net. And the great pass that set up Ben White's goal as well. What's your thoughts on Martinelli?
Yeah, I thought Martinelli had a solid performance. I'd probably give him a 7, just a clear-cut 7. Just in comparison to some of the other 7s throughout the game. I think probably I'd give him a 7 because of how well Trossard did. And I just think that the performance between both of them, Trossard's one was so good. And Martinelli one was good, but just not on the same level. But I thought he did what Martinelli did. You know, he worked hard, he attacked, create chances for other teammates. It's just that in comparison to Trossard, not quite there, but you know, he did what he needed to.
There's a couple of things that I've got to run through as well. So
Sure.
let me do that before I go in and to go to Neomis. And Neomis talks about his predictions for the last 10 games. Let me see. I actually can't find the one. Oh, here it is. Is this it? No, I think I've hold on a second. Let's see if it's here. Yes, it is here. Yeah, I got it. Right. Let's go here. So 2 things just to talk about from the game yesterday. The first one, sorry, on my PC, I'm moving so much screens over here. It's crazy. Let's get rid of this. Let's go back to this screen and let's present first penalty. So Jesus A lot of people on social media now are saying it wasn't a penalty. I've taken a snapshot there,
Yes, it
and
is.
I've circled it so you can actually see, guys, there was contact, so it it was a penalty. I know some people on Twitter's hardly for people are saying he dived, but no, there was contact there. That's what they saw, and that's the reason why he went over. So you got no issues with that, Neomis, no?
No, no issues
Excellent,
whatsoever.
excellent. Okay, and then the second other thing is in the stadium, which was great. They had a tribute to Rockcastle. That's what they showed on the banner. After 7 minutes of the gameplay, they got a standing ovation, and that was absolutely brilliant. So just a wonderful player. It's such a shame that a lot of guys who are a lot younger than myself, like yourself, Neomis, a lot of guys didn't see him play, and he was
Yeah.
just I can't even imagine. It was like Alexis Sanchez. Just he had so much
Wow.
talent. It was ridiculous. I remember people talking about how talented Gaza was,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like this guy Rockcastle just had everything. He had everything. He was unplayable. He was so good, and it's just a shame that his career and his life was cut so short because of what happened with his death. But well done to Arsenal for that, man. Shout out to everyone. I'm gonna do this live, guys. I'm just gonna put the screen up. Let me put the Excel sheet up so that Neomis can go through his top. So obviously with Leeds, you would have given a win for Leeds, right?
Oh, yeah. I would have given a win for Leeds.
All right. So talk me through it all the way through. I'll give you the conch here so you can go all the way through.
Okay, so see, this is the thing, right? Is that I predict Arsenal to win the league, but when I actually did the numbers, especially what I think Man City will do, it doesn't quite work out. So I put Liverpool as a draw.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you know what's funny, Neomis? They've got a 8 point lead, but a 5 point gap when you put the games together. And
yeah.
I've put Arsenal to get a possible 26. So by my
Oh,
calculations, that if you drop 4 points, you're still going to win the league, right?
okay.
So so by my calculations, 26 points will be enough for them to win the league. Shout out to Jansen says Martinelli versus TA usually is where we win it. Agreed, agreed. Shout out to Stan, also in Canada, Vancouver, which is
Yes.
Neomis. That's how far were you from Stan?
Uh, if he's in Vancouver, it's not far. I live in an area called Surrey. So there are lots of places in BC that are named after places here in England. So I live like an hour and 20 minutes from Vancouver.
Okay, so maybe you and Stan could hook up, man. That would be
Yeah.
great. That would be good. That would be good. So yeah, so talk me through. You've gone with a draw for Liverpool.
Yes. I've gone for a West Ham win.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So West Ham have been awful this season. I don't know what has happened to them. But yeah, and Southampton, I put a win.
Oh, Stan said he's in the West End.
No, West Ham. Oh, in Vancouver? Okay. Yeah, he lives in the heart of Vancouver then. So yeah, that's one of those where I just have to go to the city. It's basically like
No,
going into central London. It's not a problem.
nice, nice. Southampton at home this time.
Oh, win.
Yeah, we're
Win.
not losing at home. I'm sorry, man. We're
Yeah.
not losing at home. This is the big one. Now, I've gone for a draw. Vincey's gone for a win. Gary and Bertram both said we're going to lose that game. Tony said we're going to win. That was a good one from Tony. Tony was and ahhing, and he finally came over with a win. La African Guna said draw. Ebony and Tom said win.
Okay. I put that down as a loss.
Okay. So for me, that's a statement game, the Man City away.
Yes.
If you want to be champions, you got to beat the champions. And that's why I think that's a statement game. But a draw would still be a great result.
Yeah. The thing is, I think in order for Arsenal to win the league, I think they have to get something out of City because I needed Liverpool to do us a favor today.
Mm.
And I don't want to unfortunately, spoiler alert. Like if you hadn't watched the Liverpool City game, City won.
Yeah, they can.
Um, so like I needed Liverpool to do me a favor, and they didn't. So I would have gone for a Man City loss, but Chelsea is going to be a win.
Ooh, a win for Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea ain't beating us nothing right now,
No.
man.
Okay, so this was the one that really I was like, okay, so Newcastle, the king of the, all they do all season is draw. No, like, and they've got my guy up front who's back.
So you said all they do is draw. Yeah. So I've got two things for you.
Okay,
Yeah, I've got two things for you. The first thing is Arsenal have. I mean, Arsenal's away form is ridiculous. They've got 11 clean sheets away from her. I mean, I just I can't fathom a championship team being so good. They're a different team. When they're at home, they play more open, they're expressive, they have the fans there, and that's the reason why you see that type of dominance. But when they go away from home, they're tighter, they have a better shape, and they've got more resilience, and they're so hard to beat. But the second thing I have to say on top of that is before Christmas, Newcastle had more clean sheets than everybody else, but now they're leaking goals. They're leaking goals. I think they've let a goal in 6 out of the last 7 games. They've not keep clean sheets. They're leaking goals in now. So it would be perfect. I think this is the right time. Plus, Arsenal have got to avenge that 2-0 loss last season, which made them go out the Champions League.
yes.
Arsenal not afraid. I think Newcastle are more worried about Arsenal coming to town. Do you remember me and Gary talked about when Newcastle came to the Emirates? They were time wasting after 14 minutes.
Of course, listen, they know on paper Arsenal are stronger than them. They know that. They know, but I've gone out of my way to watch a few of their games, and it's one of those ones where we have to start off well. If we cannot let them score first, because then we're going to have a bit of a problem, and that's the game that I actually called as a draw. But for me, out of all the games, I know you said Man City is the statement game, but if there's a game that's a must win, it's that one. I just don't quite think that we'll get it. So I put that one up down as a draw.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you look at Miguel Amaron, like he
Born again.
was tearing up the league before Christmas. What's
Yeah.
he done since?
Yeah, nothing.
And so it's a different Newcastle team. I mean, they're struggling for results right now. They're
Yeah.
struggling for results, and
I
that's the
really
reason.
hope you're right.
Yeah, they're struggling for results. And look, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, it's going to be a while before we play them, so a lot of things will change. But I really think we're going to turn them over. What's your thoughts on this one? A draw, a win?
A draw.
Ooh, okay. Brighton at home.
Win.
I went for draw there. Brighton, I got so much respect for Brighton, man. I'm looking for Brighton to turn over City as well. Nottingham Forest away.
Win.
And then the last one, which is Wolves at home. We ain't going to lose that game, are we?
Oh, that's a win all day.
Yeah. So you've come out with 23 points. So I'm going to ask you the same as I asked all the others. Shout out to Bertram as well. Bertram said, well, they're up 2-0. So he must be talking about Newcastle. Oh, wow. That's a great result.
Oh God, who they
Against Man City, against Man United.
You're joking.
Yeah, that's a great result. United. Oh God.
Wow.
Make me check the table. So, guys, United are in 4th place only by a point. So, no, that puts them level on points. In fact, Newcastle go into 3rd place.
Yeah, Newcastle are in 3rd because of their goal difference.
Yeah, because of the goal difference. Wow.
Apollo, at the end of the season, I always say this goal difference means something. I've never seen for the team that wins the Premier League always has the best goal difference, and it goes down in consecutive order.
Ooh,
Always.
Wow. Oh, So Neomis, do you think 23 points out of a possible 30 is enough to win the title? I'm not sure it is.
No, I think it's gonna have to be 24. That because when I calculated it, because I think City will go unbeaten for the rest of the season. I think they'll get all 30. I like for me, unless you're gonna bet on Chelsea or Brighton, those are the only other teams that you would
Brighton.
say on like Brighton on their performance and Chelsea just based on the players that they have, not based on performance. Those are the only two that I'm obviously Arsenal as well, but I mean, if Arsenal beat City, it's over because City cannot. If City lose
Yeah, I
one
know.
more
It's a
game,
6-pointer.
it's over. No matter what team it is, one more game they lose, it is done.
And also, this translates to the fact that you can also slip up or draw at, you know, at Newcastle. Like the Newcastle result is non void if you swing the 6-pointer against City. It really is because they already have a buffer. They already have a gap. But I can see City slipping up. I can see them getting at least a draw. I can see them slipping up as well. And I just think the pressure's on them. A lot of people think the pressure's on Arsenal. I don't see it.
No,
These
the
guys,
pressure is on them. It is on. It's not on Arsenal because listen, right? Even if for some reason whatever happened, if Arsenal don't win it, no one expected us to win it.
Yeah,
From the beginning of the season, this is an opportunity that Arsenal have come into that they just have to execute now. Because 5 years from now, people will be looking back, and when they say when was the last time Arsenal won the league, they will say Arsenal won the league in that 2023 season. No one's going to care how many points we have, who came second. Like, how many people remember who finished in the top four when Leicester won the league? Right, no one does, but we all know Leicester won the league. We all loved watching them do it, and we it was like a Cinderella story. And for Arsenal, our story will be. It's been a long time coming.
So so before we go, by the way, guys, Neomis just came from a long flight from Canada. He hasn't slept. He hasn't rested. He's only been in the UK for a couple of hours, and that's why he agreed to join me because I haven't caught up with him in ages. Bertram says we have to try not to lose to City. That's the key right there. We don't even have to win that game.
Yeah.
In fact, you can draw City, lose at Newcastle, and still win the Premier League.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that we can go about it. Bertram says the pressure is on us also. I don't think the kids know what pressure is. That's why I'm saying that the pressure's on City, because if you watch Pep Guardiola's conferences every week.
He's so agitated. He looks like a drug addict looking for a fix. Honestly, he's just like, where's my six? Just
he's rattled. He's proper rattled. And then when you look at Arteta's conferences, all the man doing is smiling.
Yeah.
All he's doing is smiling. So I think the pressure, if I saw in our displays that we were struggling to get over the line and we was creeping 1-0 or the displays wasn't good, then I would have to say 100%, Bertram. I think the pressure's on us because it would be taking the toll to try and meet City every week. We've won 7 games in a row, guys. And at times when we're winning, we're not even out of third gear. Like yesterday, we weren't even trying. And the week before, when we won 4-1 again with Palace, we weren't even trying. We weren't playing our best football. And I think that's where we're at the moment, is winning has become so easy for this team because they're scoring so many goals. I went back to the last 7 fixtures, 3 goals, 4 goals, back-to-back 4-1 wins, a 3-0 win as well. It's just so easy. We're not even trying. And I think that's what the disappointment was. The Man City loss was a real disappointment because I thought that, and I said it, the result doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the actual game itself. I thought when Haaland scored the 3rd goal, it was very inflated because we were chasing the game. But the game was a lot closer than what it was. and even if we came out with that game with a draw, would have been a good result.
Yeah.
And and right now, I think, and before I let, I promised Neomis I wouldn't go over an hour because he needs to rest. I think that the key to the Manchester City game is teams that seem to press City and Liverpool always tend to get punished. And I've seen the teams that do really well against them. I remember when Villa played them and they drawed 1-1. Villa didn't press them. Villa let Manchester City try to develop the play on them and then take City on the counter attack, and City couldn't deal with it. They really struggled with it because I think people don't realize how much Manchester City capitalize on teams' mistakes. They used to do it to us so many times.
Yeah.
In fact, they had no other tactic that when they played Arsenal, let's wait for Arsenal to lose the ball, which they always did because we weren't great in the midfield. Ceballos, Xhaka, and you guys know the rest. We weren't great with the ball at our feet, and we always make a mistake. We'd always and they would just pounce on us and capitalize on it. And when you've seen City struggle is when teams don't press them. And what that does is that makes them have to work for their supper. And I think that Arteta is going to have to mix it up somewhat because he's not going to want there and be passive, too passive. You don't want City to dictate the play. But at the same time, you have to press in levels. And that's where I think that the approach is going to be different. Bertram says, how can we not have pressure regardless of expectations when we are 8 points ahead with 9 games to play? I don't think the team don't look like they have any pressure. The team look like they're having fun. Them guys, Bertram, them guys look like they're having a time of their lives, and it's like carnival every day at Arsenal. And I really don't see, there might be pressure, there might be underlying pressure, but they don't look like they're suffering from any type of pressure. Johansson says, Man City game, we have to concede possession to them, drop Zinchenko, play Tierney, good shout. No. Some people have been saying that. I don't think that they will drop Zinchenko because the energy that he provides.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the damage teams have done, especially the fast starts against Leeds and Bournemouth, when Bournemouth scored in 10 seconds, Leeds nearly did. They went straight over to that side because they knew Zinchenko was pushing up and they played into that hole and we were under pressure. So there might be something to that. Concrete Jungle says, Liverpool fans saying it's a fluke. Their hate is crazy. If our season is a fluke, then their title win is the same. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool were the only team to stop City from winning in the last 5 years. And it's taken so much out of Liverpool that they've had nothing in the tank this season. Nothing. And I think what's going on with Liverpool is a mental issue, not a physical issue. But before we go, Neomis, what's your thoughts on how do we beat City?
Man, this is a big thing. I think it's going to come down to consistency. We have to play our best team. And we're probably going to need something off the bench. Let me ask you this. When is Nketiah back?
They're saying it could be a couple of weeks. He was supposed to come back into training last week, Wednesday. And the problem is the ankle is so damaged that they just kept playing him and they never subbed him off. And he played every single game, not just 90 minutes, but 95, 96, 97 minutes. They never rested the guy, and they knew he was hurt. He was playing on that injured ankle for months, and I'd be lucky if we see him in another 2 weeks. And we need him now because the game yesterday really showed how much we needed that play and relief at the point. He gives us something different, and he's in terms of goal scorer and poacher, he's the best on the team. There's no two ways about it. And we're missing that at the moment. All of them give us something different. I guess we'll have to see this week what happens if he does return to training. But I'm hearing the ankle's really, really sore. So I don't have much hope.
Well, okay. Even if he isn't back, I still think that it's going to require perfect execution, but I think that if we're playing, we could play with Jesus up top, Trossard on the left, Odegaard just behind, and Saka on the right. And I think if we stick to the game plan that what Arteta does, I think we should be fine.
Yeah.
Well, is Saliba playing as well? Is he going to be back?
No, so Saliba is under the same as Nketiah. So their tests previously haven't proved well. The
Okay.
tests and the scans that they haven't been well. So they're reassessing them on Tuesday morning, from what I'm aware. So on Tuesday afternoon, Arteta and the medical team will know more about Saliba and Nketiah, and they'll be able to give us a more up to date assessment on both players.
Okay.
Must be bad though, isn't it, for the fact that they've literally seen the scans and the scans wasn't great, so they've literally had to rest them. They haven't been in training; they've just been getting therapy and physio and rest. So, and when we'll have to play, my guess is if they've both reacted well to the injuries, that they'll probably rest them for the rest of the week, and then they'll try to get them back into training after the Liverpool game. That's what I think they'll do, and then that will hold up well for both players coming back in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Yes, City's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I don't think that this is one where there isn't no easy way for me to say, yeah, they have a weakness that can really be explored. Even as I'm saying this, I'm trying to think of like what exactly if they start with Haaland, that could be an issue because like
I think playing Haaland works for us and not against us, because when Haaland's had a strong defender to play against, he's had a tough time. In the FA Cup game, they played him, and we pretty much matched up with him really well there. I didn't see the game. Gary and Tony covered it on the channel, but we pretty much manned him up. And I trust Saliba. If he's fit by the time
yes.
that game comes. Not or even Gabriel. I'd love to see Gabriel versus Haaland, but I'd prefer to see Saliba on him. But yeah, I mean, Janssen says we can't beat City playing the possessional football. City are the masters at it, but Arteta has a variant which works. And look, guys, look, we are 5 points better than City with the same games played, so we must be doing something right. We must be doing something better than City, I think is the best way to actually put it. So that means we've got to play to our strength. Every time we always talk about how strong another team is, I always bring everybody back to, but what about Arsenal? Yeah, Newcastle's this. Yeah, Man United's this. Yeah. Man City's this. But what about Arsenal? So we've got to also hold our heads up and say, you know, we are a team that people are not going to be wanting to play us. They're not going to be wanting to play us. We're offering so much. So listen, final thoughts from Neomis before that. Bertram says we can only play one way, so don't expect it. Yeah, there is that. That's a good shout, Bertram. We don't show enough variation in our play. And we can talk about the inverted, we can talk about the single pivot, we can talk about so many different things, but that's the way we play. We're a boxer with one style. And sometimes, most times, that style is good enough to take you 12 rounds. I don't know. I don't have the answer for whether that is going to be good enough to hold us up, but I hope it will do. And like I said, Neomis, I look at the players. The youngest team in the league playing with no fear. They don't care who they play. They'll play you off the park. They'll wipe you out. They don't care. And I love that kind of, mentality. It's Mamba mentality. I love it. So Neomis, final thoughts. When are we going to see you again? Is the most important thing.
Let's see. What time is the game on Sunday?
So what do you fly? When do you fly out?
I fly on Sunday. That's
Oh my god!
that's what I'm trying. Is it a 12 o'clock one?
It's 4:30, so it's late.
Oh no, yeah, I'll be at the
Yeah,
airport then.
yeah, it's late.
What I'll do is I'll be in the chat, and you guys can keep me posted, and then yeah, I'll really be hoping that we get something out of that game. 'Cause if we get something out of that game over, we win the league.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
I do believe we're going to win the league, but if we win that game, it's going to cement it for others that just didn't think that. And we're talking about Anfield. We hadn't won at Spurs in 9 years, and the same is at Anfield. The last Anfield win day was Podolski and Cazorla, and we just don't win at Anfield. And if we do that, man, it's a different Arsenal team right now. It's a different Arsenal team. All right, Neomis, thanks for joining us. Go and get some sleep. Go and get some rest.
I will do.
And it's great to see you here, man. And you're always welcomed. And we'll catch up with you soon.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Cheers, bro. All right, guys. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Always valid, respected views and opinions from you guys. And I'll speak to you soon, man. Peace out, everybody.